People against Ebonique Allen Hunter Smith. Client number 252W829943A and B.
Morning, Your Honor, Michael Crawford, representing the defendant.
Your name, ma'am? All right, so I have two charges.
Before we go any further, I don't know if you remember from before, but it's clear to me, based on my prior representations of the defendant and in view of the voicemail that she left me this weekend, that she doesn't want my representation. I don't know how she wants to move forward, but there's been a clear breakdown of attorney-client relationship, and I would like to be taken off of this case. She can see how she'd like.
Why would they do wrong? Ma'am.
I just felt like I wasn't properly defended in this case whatsoever.
Oh, really?
No one told me about that police report until I heard you say it. I wasn't allowed to defend myself or to say whether it was true or not before they told me to plead guilty. I felt like I was banned. So has that leads with the statement?
Okay,
It's not
let's-
true.
Okay. Let me just back it up. I was pointing out something that I read in the police report that had nothing to do with your guilt or innocence on this more serious charge of operating while visibly impaired. Okay?
Yeah, but the lie matters. You lied on that.
So you want to go to trial because you think the officer lied? I don't want to talk about this, but we're going to bring this case to a head at some point. Okay? I'm going to do, you know, you don't get to, it doesn't, these guys do a good job here for people, you know that? They do. They do a good job and we don't deserve to be abused. If you want to go hire your own lawyer, you feel free. But I'm not going to keep delaying this case. And I can't imagine when a lawyer's telling me that somebody left a voicemail for him. I would say you're probably directing your anger at the wrong person here.
Well, I feel that if I was told the whole thing about the police report and I was able to plead my case then, I still feel like I was represented. And then when I tried to call another one, but everybody's on vacation. I didn't call me.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, you were intoxicated according to the breathalyzer. You had, or a blood draw, you had two and a half times the legal limit. Is it maybe, hang on. Is it maybe possible that you don't remember everything that occurred?
Absolutely not. And I was ready to plead guilty and take whatever consequences that you were going to say. It just wouldn't become with a whole lie. I was never in any streets going anywhere. I came straight from the freeway to that green gas station right across the street from the police station. I was never in.
If this officer is lying, I'm calling the chief of police and I'm gonna make sure that there's disciplinary action set forth in the police report.
Yeah.
If he is making all of this up, he would have to be crazy to make up everything that he's written in this police report, unless he just doesn't want to be a police officer and wants to get charged with filing a false police report.
That didn't happen. And if it did happen, I'd be like, okay, I'll take whatever. But it didn't, and I'm not gonna.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'm trying to think. we still have to move on with the case. So I'll discharge you
Thank you, Your Honor.
because I can tell that you're upset. I can tell. And I'll discharge you, but you don't get to abuse lawyers.
I wasn't trying to abuse them. I apologize.
Well, he said something about a voicemail, and I can tell it wasn't, hey, how's your day going?
No, I told him exactly what I said here. I don't feel that I was represented properly.
Was that what she told you?
That's a kind interpretation of the voice.
I didn't call you out your name. I didn't curse. I just said I didn't feel like I was represented properly.
You also seem to mention that you didn't understand and believe that myself or prior counsel should have a degree, or probably got any kind of degree.
Well, the way that if you don't tell somebody their complete case, that's not defending. If you're not telling the whole story.
I don't mean to be disrespectful. You got an 11th grade education. You're telling this guy that went to college and law school to pass the bar exam that's been practicing law that he's not smart enough to represent you? Give me a break.
I didn't say.
Enough. I've heard enough. Defense attorney allowed to withdraw. I'll appoint, who else is here today? We'll give
Mr.
her
Haynes is our
Mr.
house counsel.
We're going to give you Mr. Haynes. You can talk to Mr. Haynes. Maybe he'll be up to your standards. Okay? And then we're going to sentence today still. Ebonique Allen Hunter Smith, 22W29943 A and B.
Pretty Honor, good morning. Court going against the Ebonique Hunter Smith, stating himself for sentencing, I believe.
Your name, ma'am? So she just fired her lawyer. He withdrew. She didn't want to represent her.
Judge, she's asking for a 2-week determination.
She's asked me that before, and I'm going to do it, ma'am, but this is it, okay? Last adjournment, adjourn 2 weeks. Lisa, what day we gonna?
Do you want it on a prosecutor day?
There was no accident. I don't really need it on a prosecutor day, to tell you the truth.
Okay, December 8th at 8:30.
Okay, December the 8th at 8:30. So I just want you to know I've adjourned this from October 29th to November 12th, to November 24th, December 8th. No more adjournments, okay?
Okay.
All right, have a nice Thanksgiving. We'll see you here on December the 8th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Court next calls Glen Lake Electric Inc. versus Tom Tachy TTP. This is case number 251511SC. You may have both have a C. We are here on an appeal from the magistrate on a small claims case. It looks like there was a small claims case filed back on September 29th seeking $6,093. A hearing was held by the magistrate on the 3rd of this month, and a judgment entered to the plaintiff in the amount of $4,875. And there is appeal, so that's where we're at today. Just to remind the parties that I am hearing the case new today, so you need to present everything that you presented to the magistrate to me or more, whatever the case may be. But I don't review the magistrate on the record for any abuse of discretion or anything like that. So essentially you're starting fresh today with me. Does that make sense? All right. Sir, can I get you to state your name, please?
David Packer.
David Packer. And what are you with Glen Lake?
The owner.
All right. All right. Parties, please raise their right hands. Do you both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Packer, this is your case. So, what is it that you'd like me to know?
I thought things were settled in the last case, and it seems like he'd be the plaintiff and I'd be the defendant in this case.
Well, like I said, we're starting new. So since the case is originally, you
Oh,
originally brought the case.
oh, I
So-
thought again or something, no. okay.
No, so you originally brought the case, correct?
Yes,
In the
sir.
small claims.
Yes.
And so, normally you would be correct that he would then have to convince the court as to why the judgment should not have entered.
Okay,
But because the case starts new, it falls back on you.
okay.
So,
Oh, here.
okay. So what is it that, well, I guess knowing that, then are you prepared to move forward today?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead and let me know what you want to let me know.
Did work at his place and, the first, job went good. He hired us back to finish up his, residence. He had some Amishmen doing, the building and the wiring. Apparently he fired them, sure. He brought that up in court last time. We did the job the best we could. Basically never showed up on the job except after 2 o'clock, and the direction wasn't very good. So we did the best we could on what direction we got. We're the guys that were one was a master electrician, and the other one was a 4th-year apprentice, which I paid him $25 an hour. He has health insurance with me. I pay workman's comp and liability insurance on him. And I put $65 an hour on his time. And that's where the difference was on the money that the first hearing. She thought it was $20 I should be charging, which I don't, I know that isn't right, but all I can say is we did the job professionally. He had some problems. I tried to work with him. He paid all his bills except the last bill, which is common for a homeowner because they're basically running out of money. And they try to blame anything they can on the contractor. This is the first time I've been in court. I've been in business for 32 years. Very good reputation. And I was on a me, and I've never been sued before. I've filed in court on people that haven't paid. So basically, I'm trying to collect my last payment of the house. We did.
And was that the $6,093?
Yes, sir.
So you had indicated that you had done previous work on the job. In my going through the file, I saw that there had been looked like a quote was done. Looks like in the amount of $2,875. Was that the first job?
That was the first job when I first met him. I did a quote for him. That was a service, the beginning of, getting power to the house. Then I think I did a second quote running power to the house. He gave me the measurements over the phone. Luckily, I added another 20 foot because it wasn't long enough with the measurement he gave us. So that would have been, of course, my fault because I'm an electrician, but luckily I covered it. By code, I was presuming there was a disconnect means you're supposed to have on the house, which you should have. He said you didn't. So we didn't put it on there. I gave him credit for that. There was a couple instances where the guys went out, he wasn't there. The one guy had an emergency, so I had him come back. I gave him credit for that day. After the service work, then it kind of turned into time material because I thought we had, a relationship where he knew what kind of work we did. And I just assumed, I wish now there would have been a real written agreement on it. A lot of jobs I do time material. And it's basically a handshake and you know, this kind of went good till the last payment. And I called him and asked him why can't I get paid? And he did say he was gonna pay, then it just kind of escalated more and more. And before we were done with the conversation, it was F this, F that, and I kind of let it go. And then about a month later, I filed a lien on his house, and that wasn't going anywhere. So I decided to go with small claims court. And this has really taken a lot of my time, and it shouldn't be that way. It should have had an agreement, you know, between me and him on this billing. I was willing to work with him. There was one big problem he had. He told us what he wanted. He's not a general contractor, he's not a builder, so he doesn't really have what he's doing. He's telling us what he wants. We did it. He comes back the next day just in an uproar because we didn't do it just how he told us to. He never shows up on the job until after 2 o'clock. We get there at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, if he wants things done his way, he should have been there. That's the way I look at it.
So let me ask you, so that original quote, that original 2875, that job was completed and you were paid in full on that?
There was 4 different invoices. Everything's been paid except that last invoice when the project was about done.
And so I'm looking at an invoice that looks like it was in the magistrate's case. It's dated January 22nd of this year.
Right. And that's the one that hasn't been paid.
And that's invoice 22-136.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so I guess explain to me a little bit more as to what this specific invoice is about.
This is after, basically the first invoice was the service outside. The second invoice was bringing the power to the house. The third invoice was work we did based on time and material on basically rough end of the house. And this last bill is trying to finish the house.
Okay. And so the prior, I just want to make sure I'm clear, the prior bills were all paid.
All paid except this last one, paid in full. And that's why I felt comfortable continuing on working. And the master electrician that was out there apparently said he had to get more money. He was running out of money. And that's when the next day I got his bill together to send to him. And this is common with people that are trying to build a house that, you know, I was willing to work with them, see if he could pay, you know, a monthly type situation, and he got our rate, you know, we did this, we did that, and I was just trying to collect what we did.
So were the prior invoices done on kind of like a quote agreement?
There was 2 of them on a quote. Then the third one, you know, he wanted it done. He had to have it moved in, and they were sleeping in a tent. And, you know, I kind of felt sorry for him. He's got kids, and here they are. We'd pull up and they'd all be rolling out of a tent, you know, and, so it's kind of a deal where I was making a priority to get out there to get it, you know, where it's livable. He didn't have no power out there. And, I actually felt sorry for him, but I don't know more.
So your prior quotes that were provided, did they list out labor costs?
No, a quote's a quote where, you know, you give them a price. You know, the time material is basically an estimate where you're estimating how much it's gonna cost. The first 2 jobs were quotes. The third and fourth job or billing, that was basically time material. And it's listed on there, and most of the time, I do an estimate, giving them a ballpark price of how much stuff's gonna be, which this moves so fast, I didn't really do it. So, you know, shame on me for not doing it.
And so I'm looking here, there looks like there's labor on January 15th, the 16th and the 21st for both a journeyman and an apprentice.
Right,
And then it looks like there's several different amounts of wire in different,
right. That's material we used on the project.
and then there's $1,147 for general electrical materials supplied from December 9th through the 21st. So that December 9th, does that include
What I
work from a prior invoice?
No, what I did was I billed him out, so he had an idea how much he was had in the wire, the big stuff. Which is common for me to do. I don't know if it's common for everybody. But the general material is miscellaneous stuff that you use. You know, the wire and that was kind of big items. So I put that on there so he knew how much it was.
So when did you start work on this $6,000 invoice?
The one for $6,093.
Yes. Yeah.
That the first day was the 15th.
Okay. So how does it have general electrical materials supplied from December 9th through the 21st on it if you started work on the 15th?
The previous bill, I did $1,000, kind of like $1,000 allowance for the material that we use because it was moving so fast. I didn't really have time to figure all the material, so I did like a $1,000 draw in this last billing. That's why there's a credit of $1,000. On the previous bill, there was I took $1,000 draw basically.
Okay.
Okay.
So even though I just want to make sure I've got this clear in my head, even though the prior invoices had been paid in full, you were still billing for some of the materials on this last invoice for
Exactly.
the prior work.
Exactly.
All right.
It's sometimes hard to, know what the guys are billing or writing down on their material list until the job is getting close to being done. And that's why, I took a guess, okay, let's put $1,000 draw just on the material on the third bill. And then this fourth bill, I figured it out accurately. And that's why, everything's listed. Basically, the wire's all itemized and the general material is, what it is. So.
And so when you say general material, I'm thinking like junction box, wire nuts, all that stuff. Okay.
Or, general material.
And so you billed that out at $1,147, but then you immediately gave a $1,000 credit back. So
Because
it's
of the last bill.
because of the last bill. So what all went into, I guess, help me explain what your crew did in this last invoice. What were they asked to do?
The third invoice, we started pulling out what the Amish did. They had it basically screwed up. I don't know if it was kids wiring it or if he was or what, but basically all of it got gutted out from the basement up. The only thing we kept were home runs. That means the power going to the outlet, from the panel to the outlet. That we kept. Everything else was a total rewire, basically.
And explain to me why it had to be a rewire.
Because nothing was right to code.
To code. Okay.
Right.
All right. And did you have that conversation with him?
He knew it.
How did he know it?
Because we're there on the job doing it. We did it on the third invoice, and if he asked, we told him what we were doing, what the problems were. We just don't go on the job and tear everything out that somebody else did if it's up to code. We're electricians, we're professionals. We got to do it right.
Mhm.
So if something isn't right, we have to redo it or replace it, one or the other.
And I'm assuming because of the stage that it was in, there hadn't been any electrical inspection
I
up
assume
to that.
not.
But you don't know if there had been or not?
Generally, I get permits and he already had the permits. And I won the service I got the permit on. Okay, but the rest of them, he wanted to take care of the permits, which I don't like that. When we do a job, I want to be my permit on that because I'm basically responsible for it. And like I said, I felt sorry for this guy. He was living in a tent. I wanted to get in there and get out of there.
So, was there any discussion that he had with you as to why he wanted you and your team to come in and do the work if he had the Amish working on it?
He apparently fired the Amish.
Okay,
Because they weren't there when we were there.
all right. So I guess describe for me how that conversation went. I mean, how was it that, I guess describe for me how it was that you came in to do this last part of the job.
It started out with the service because apparently the Amish or whoever couldn't do it. So he come to me, asked for a price on that, I gave him a price, he approved that, we did the work. The second stage was bringing power to the house. We did that, everything was fine. In the meantime, apparently something went sour with the Amish. He hired us to do the wiring. We get in there, do the wiring. Well, a lot of it had to be replaced, a good majority. All of it except the home runs, they call them, where they're running power from the panel. Nothing was hooked up or anything. They cut in some can lights and they drilled a lot of holes, and he's blaming me for that, and he's just looking for anything he can to try to not pay this bill. He told the other judge he sued the Amish for, unless I heard it wrong, for $45,000 and won. So that kind of tells you what the Amish did, if he made that much money off from them.
Okay. And I saw, looks like you billed for 2 people out there. Is that what you had
Yeah,
working on it?
A master electrician and a 4th-year apprentice.
Okay. And then, there was never a discussion as to how much this last phase was going to cost. You basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically I said, I need this done. You agreed to do it, and then you billed out.
He knew exactly what he was paying for. It wasn't like he wasn't here. He'd show up at 2:00 in the afternoon, kind of see what we did that day. He didn't have no problem with the billing, the previous bill, the 3rd one. So he knew how much he was paying. He wanted the job done. So I made arrangements to get out there and get the job done so they could move in.
All right. Anything else you'd like me to know?
No, sir.
All right. I'll probably have some more questions for you, but Mr. Tachy, what is it that you'd like me to know?
Yes, Your Honor. So let's start off by pulling apart and proving how much of what he just spoke was lies.
Well, I'll make
How
that
hard to keep track of
determination.
that,
So
I'm
let's,
gonna try to start one at a time here.
all right.
So firstly, just because I'm looking right at it, the $1,000 was actually prepayments that was required on those first 2 invoices that I had paid for each one of $1,000 each. And then I also have the receipts for the final payment. So those were paid in full completely. So no, there didn't mention anything about those prepayments being made. Secondly, let's go ahead and focus on the Amish doing electrical work, which was not the case. That was done by a licensed electrician down in Milwaukee. The home was built modularly, and it had to have had some of those runs put in order to get up to the home. It was never the plan to have them finish it or do the entire job. It was a part of the concept that there was going to be some inaccessible locations in order to get runs in if we had done it all at one months later, so we wouldn't have been able to get things in places. He did not rip out a single wire that was established or laid in by that electrician, and again, not done by the Amish. Furthermore, the defamation of my character and the things that he likes to throw in there, I may be looking in a little bit further about legal recourse on some of that. We were staying in a tent due to the fact that our rental that we were staying in was 45 minutes north of where we were at. I had been just in the process of moving up from Texas, so a lot of my being was back and forth. I was hiring a professional to do the job due to the fact that I was working full time and didn't have the ability to do all this myself. I ran a construction company in Texas for 6 years successfully. I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to these things, and could have and have done a lot of this work myself, but due to my time constraints, traveling back and forth, I have 5 children. My wife stays at home with my kids. I'm the sole proprietor. I pay for everything in cash. I don't have a single loan for anything, not a home loan, not a mortgage of any kind. The property's owned outright. My home's owned outright. Everything is clearing. I didn't pay this gentleman because of the inadequacy of his performance and the predatory billing practices that he goes upon to sneak in these things. He saw an opportunity, noting that I was paying everything clean and clear, and then he saw opportunities to then dodge this whole concept, and he was acting like a good Samaritan over there. When he in turn really was just trying to dodge out, giving me a laid for a simple plan of what could be done, because he had no idea
Okay,
how that
so
would-
let's stick to this invoice that he's claiming is
Correct. Yes, sir.
outstanding. I realize there's a lot of animosity out there, but we just got to stick with the facts here. So,
Yes.
So he done work for you in the past. You
Correct.
didn't have issues. You paid the bills.
Yeah, a lot of the time I wasn't around.
So-
He would require payment before he would do any more work, so I didn't always get the opportunity to come and see what was done before I would get to come through. So, in regards to keeping the progress rolling, had I been there for the previous payment before he started this week of this invoice, the last one was for $5,000. I paid that without getting the opportunity to look inside the home. My ability of not being there hindered me and allowed me to hire him a step further, because a lot of what they had done in that turn, I had pulled out and redone, and that's where a lot of the holes have been left and a lot of the beams that are there. So as we got into
Who
this,
pulled it out?
I had it redone. Yes.
Okay.
Since then, yes, sir. It has been all removed and reset and done differently. I have photos of all of this that I displayed in the first case. So I do want to address
And
that concern. The Amish, I had issues with, as he's bringing his own reason why I'm bringing this into the matter is because he brought it up. I did have issues with them building, although they did not touch any wiring. They had not done any electrical wiring themselves. And none of the issues that I had with him overlap into what they have done. And I have that printout of what my issues were with them and what my payout was for. And not one of those things was referencing any holes being drilled in any beams or trim.
So you said this was a modular home, or at least,
Somewhat. Some of it was site built, some of it was modular built. It was just the way they did things.
all right. And did you have a builder build this or explain?
There's this Amish company who had built this home. They built log cabins. We really liked the log cabin. We
Okay.
had 2 homes brought out, put together in 2 pieces. One's a second story. They built the second story on site. And then the other piece of it as well. So we had a foundation board, basement, set in the sill plates, beams, everything, and got lowered, laid in position. They came out, finished the roof, put all the windows in, that kind of thing. Finished the framing.
But they didn't, as part of the build, they weren't required to do the internal electrical.
No, that was outsourced through an electrician. So was the plumbing.
Okay.
And anything that they had done on site to bring up the home was merely for inaccessible areas to be able to tie in. So there was main runs, a few things were put in. That's correct.
And so when you reached out to Glen Lake Electric this last time in this last, what I call phase, what is it that you asked them to do?
We needed, I had Cherryland coming out to establish a connection. So we needed to have a podium put in for that main line run for the initial discharge. What he was referencing of telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about, telling me we didn't need that on home. Cherryland came out and said because of the location where my pedestal was, it was clearly visible from the driveway, that we didn't need to have a cutoff on the house. So that's what that reference was too. So I had dug out the trench, put into where the pedestal was going to go. It did get moved after we had spoken with Cherryland. It wasn't that I had mismeasured or done something inaccurately after I had professional come out. Cherryland come out. They said this would be a better location for it due to where the run's coming and some roots and some trees. So we shifted it and moved it, and it still fit within the spool length that he had already had ordered. So we kept it and going. There was an adjustment made within the confines of what was already ordered. Nothing had been changed, and I made it and it fit. So, and I dug that trench myself, drilled the hole, bored it to the home, all of that myself. My aspect was just trying to get someone else to do things because I wasn't always present. I was here and there.
So for this last phase, this last invoice, what is it that you had asked him to do?
They were just to keep finishing up. I was a little bit disappointed when I got there of how far that they were actually getting every day. I had brought this up before even starting this, and in hindsight, I wish I would have just shifted, but I just wanted to keep moving forward about what they were actually getting done in a day. So the idea was that they were supposed to have the whole home finished within this week. It wasn't. None of the kitchen was done. There's still a lot of things that were unfinished. And the idea was that they were going to be able to finish this. What I kept feeling like was happening is they would just inch their way forward, not get anywhere, and then just keep charging me. And I feel like if this kept going, we would have kept doing this for 2 or 3 more times as long as I kept paying my bill.
So you're saying there was an agreement that the work was to be completed within this week of January 15th.
And frankly, I wish that he would have had,
Okay,
just as he did.
hold on. My question was, it's your testimony that there was an agreement that work was to be done within the week of January 15th. Yes or no?
I can't recall the date specifically, but that does add up to what he's saying in that time frame. Because I did not log all that. It's a very hectic time, but it was my understanding that they were going to finish prior to this invoice.
Was that agreement in writing at all, by
No,
text,
no,
or
Your
anything
Honor.
like
There
that?
was nothing in writing, no addressment of what they could get done, an assessment, and was one of the bigger issues that I had to start connecting this predatory.
So when you said that there was no assessment as to what could get done, how did you have an agreement that it would be done?
There wasn't any agreement printed. It was merely verbal. It was
okay.
my understanding, or I guess assumption, I should say clearly.
Well, there's
is that this would be
a
done.
difference between an assumption and whether there's an agreement for the work to be done within the week. I realize there might not be a written agreement,
Yeah.
but 2 people can say, I'm going to quote this out at $10,000 and I'll have it done within a week.
There was no quote. There was no estimates of pricing. I was merely just getting pulled along what they could get done, and just being told, "Oh, we can finish it this week," and then it'd be like, "I'll send my guys out there. We'll get it done this week," and then it still wasn't.
So when was it that you reached out to him to ask him to do this work that's the subject of this invoice?
It was a continuation of the previous one of what I thought would have gotten finished that week. So it was a continuation of that. And then he held that over my head to say, well, we're not going to come back out there and be paying for that one. So I immediately paid it, not being present, not getting the opportunity to look at it.
So I want to make sure I understand. So it looks like the previous invoice, at least that I have in my file, is from January 7th. And that amount was $1,628.
Incorrect, Your Honor. Let me pull it up for you right here. $5,912. It's from January 7th, 2025.
What's the invoice number?
Invoice number is 22093.
093. I don't have that one in my file. So it's 22093 in the amount of how much?
$5,912.
And does it have a date range on that as far as?
Just the 7th. Let's see, they dated on there. It shows he was there on the 18th and 19th of December, and then the 6th and 7th of January. There's also another $1,000 on there for materials. Okay. So that would have been the previous 1,000, and contradictory to what David Space stated before about the earlier ones. It was from this one that charge was put on for that material.
Well, I think he said that he had charged you and then he gave you the credit on the one from the 22nd, he gave you that credit back of $1,000.
Yes, from then this one, yeah, so I was incorrect to state that it was something from the earlier ones, which was what I was referencing with the deposits being made.
All right, so if I understand correctly, it was some point in December then that you would have asked him to do, I guess I'll call it the finishing of the electrical wiring.
Yes, Your Honor, so we had, December 18th, 19th were the days that they were out there, the 6th and the 7th, and then he returned back on the 15th, 16th, and 21st.
And how big of a house are we dealing with here?
It's a 3-bedroom home, about 1,600 square feet.
Now, um, and so there's no quote done for this last phase. You basically just say, I need to get this done. He agrees to do it. Was there any discussion at all as to what it might cost to do it? I realize there might not have been a formal quote.
So, Your Honor.
All right. And did the work get completed?
We had issues with work. I had come in one afternoon after my day's work. I would make sure that I was there when they were doing work in the evenings. For this week, I was staying up in Honor area at an Airbnb, so I would come down after my day's work and before I went back to the house. So I make sure that I was there before I catch those guys for the day's next instructions. I specifically had given the crew instructions on how to do the upstairs wiring. The question issue is what they had done upstairs. I have walked in that day and found things not done according to the description that was just given at 5 o'clock the previous evening. I wanted them to remove it at the same time feeling bad for the labor and not knowing at that time that I would get anything back in return. I did bring this up to Dave, and this is what he was willing to work on with me for, and he deducted about 4 hours. That was it. When I had brought up the issues with the damages and everything else, that when the conversation went awry, his arguments, he didn't want to listen to my book view. He didn't visit the home. He didn't make any attempts to see what was done or assess the damage of any kind.
But he did deduct 4 hours
He
off.
was willing to only do 4 hours of that. Yes.
Did he do that or
No,
no?
on this bill, there's no deduction of that.
Okay.
And that was as far as that verbal conversation went. I expressed that I think that his guys weren't listening. He defended them. I made some accusations about them getting high.
So when was it?
That upset him.
When was it that you discovered they weren't wiring according to your instructions?
Oh man, it had to have been that second day. I want to say on here.
So bad.
First or second day, to the 15th or the 16th. And had them.
So you're in
I
January?
remember it may have been the last day, the 21st day. I'm trying to recall this coming in because I don't necessarily recall them coming back after that. Pretty
So-
sure that conversation left that there. And that was, yeah, so I would have to make a firm assertion that it was the 21st.
So January 21st, is when you discovered that they hadn't done the wiring as you requested on 5 PM the day before.
Correct.
You're not being billed for labor on the 20th.
Yeah, there's no date showing on here. There's 15th, 16th, and the 21st. Correct. So then it would have had to have been the 16th then by that deduction, because he was there the previous day. And they would have came back one more time to have completed that after that.
And so how many times were you at the house while his crew was working on it with this
Sometimes.
last request?
On this week, I had made it out, I want to say only one time, and then that day, and that on the 21st was I was with my family on that moment. We had come out to the home together. So it would have only have had to have been one prior time before. So those dates would have had to have been in the middle, and the 21st, I don't even recall. Let me look at the calendar real quick. Can't quite remember this. See what those dates were. Some of my recalling was coming by. It was in the weekend. First would have been a Sunday. That would line up to when I would have come out to notice that. That doesn't make sense. 15th is Martin Luther King Day. So you know that those dates were accurate. So I can look at his calendar.
I show January 21st with a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. 20. Okay. So that would have led there on the Wednesday, Thursday, that wouldn't have been out there on the Friday. So the original estimate would have had to have been, because I would come out there in the evenings and discuss that, and it was only the day before, as my recollection goes. I felt like I had just talked to him the day before. It could have been on the 16th, and they came back on that day to have done it, which would, I guess, give him a little bit of credit to not holding on to that memory, but I do not recall that. I really specifically remember that situation playing out, that I was there, and then the next day is that he had done that, and it may have been, I was a little upset with those guys, and I felt like I just told them the night before. And I remember how that conversation went, very vividly expressing that concern to him. So I'm not 100% accurate that these dates are correct, but I do very much recall being able to speak with them the night before at 5 o'clock when I was there, to them being out to the next day doing that work. It's possible I missed a day, but I don't think it went 4 days later to me popping out there and seeing that. That doesn't line up in my mind. And make sure he had directions. You know, I went over things, and in his defense, I would go over a lot of things with him, knowing that I wasn't always available and around. I would try to cover a lot of this with him. You know, what the plan was, what we're trying to do, where to hide the wire, how to hide down, where to put down. I had paneling to go up under the ceiling, so they were able to utilize in between the ceilings that were open. There was no paneling up yet on the ceiling, so below the satin floor, you were able to run a lot of the wires. So I would guide him through what I wanted done, my direction, my vision, and how I wanted things to go. You know, I have these conversations a bit, but I very vividly recall having the conversation specifically with the upstairs bedrooms on what to do. And I had a conduit running through the walls, drilled through door trim. And I, you know, those photos, and that was the main issue that I had, and that caused me to be irate. That was the very first instance that I had where I had been able to see something and say, wow, this is not done to par. I brought this up to Dave, and then things went away.
Were there any prints done as to how you wanted
No.
the electrical done?
No, and I wish things were laid out a bit more, and it's a learning lesson on my part as well. I would assume Dave's is also to have things in writing preemptively going into something like this. Because there's just too much gray area. I would give a direction about something that how much of that was
So
being
I guess,
retained.
give me an example as to something that you had said to do a certain way and it wasn't done.
Yeah, very specifically, it's the matter I'm talking about was with the upstairs bedrooms, there was the ability to run all the wiring to the floor. So I vividly said I would utilize this space to go underneath the floor before the panels would go up between 4x6. So there was plenty of space to come right through, and I expressed that he can go, and he was fully accessible to both rooms upstairs. They're essentially built over part of the basement. It's only a partial basement, so some areas hence wide. Some electrical work was done prior to the delivery of the home. The entire second floor was accessible just for straight ups. And he had brought up one location and ran conduit all the way around the walls, drilled through the drawer and the trim, all the way around the other walls of the house, drilled through another trim, and then kept going. So rather than coming up to the floor and hiding the wires in the floor where I had wanted them, they just came up and then ran conduit all along the walls. Waste material, higher material costs.
And
like-
when did you tell them that you wanted it to come up through the floor?
One of those visits in the evening, as I recall it, again, contradictory to what these dates are showing, but as I recall it, it was an evening before coming out there. Very well may have been on the 16th, and then I didn't get back out there till the 21st. They could have taken that time off, and then maybe that's how my brain is making this the second day they went out there. You know, I had spoke with them before the weekend and they got out there. Because when I walked into that project being done, it was the day I was with my family, which would have only, I said that I lined up a few days later, but again, I can't recall exactly. It's been a very hectic time. It's going back and forth between Austin, Texas, going up here, moving, working, juggling everything, trying to put this whole house together and so on. So, you know, pull that exact date together and how that went. But I very vividly recall having this conversation as I was given direction to what I wanted being done. I wouldn't just sat there idly by and just not have a plan. It doesn't fit what I do.
Well, it sounds like it fits what you did because you didn't have a plan.
Not right.
You just tell them like the night before, this is how I
Well,
want
we
it done.
went over everything very vividly, but I would have to remind these guys continually of what they were doing next. Is that it was a lot of information to retain. I would go through the entire setup with them from day one, dating back to the original invoice on the 9th, before they started any of the work, mind you. So when we laid down and had a full walkthrough before they started anything inside of that house, I walked through with the guys that were working on it, told them exactly where I wanted my wiring in my kitchen, how many outlets I needed, the fact that I needed dual circuits in there so that I didn't overload on just the 120 amp. I have a lot of different appliances I ran. I went into the rooms with them, expressed to them, I had conversations about whether or not in-floor outlets would be something that I should try to do in some of these locations to get away from running conduit up the wall. We've had extensive conversations about this, Your Honor. So as far as maybe stepping and holding their hand through the process, no, I wasn't accurately there to sit there and monitor every little thing and micromanage what they were doing as much as I probably wish I could have been. But as far as having an outlined game plan that essentially created with them from the get-go, I most definitely did. Multiple times, so I would have to keep recurring to keep having these conversations. Or things you always ask me questions.
How much do you dispute that you were responsible for out of this last invoice?
I have damages that I was trying to recur. And in the previous proceeding, the entire reason for this appeal that I thought was more of just an appeal to that was basically matter to that. I kind of wrote some things down here to give a claim of Michigan Court Rule 2.203A requires any claim arising from the same transaction or occurrence to be heard within the same proceeding. My damages, overbilling, and defective work, all part of this invoice were inseparable and part of that same transaction. So the district court's instruction to file a separate lawsuit was what she gave me that I would need to do in order to obtain those claims was going against that. So the whole reason for this appeal today was that reasoning. I had damages. I wanted to account for the offset of the bill. That was merely it. Things were done. I was being charged for the day's work, and I prepared something to read specifically for this, as I thought that was what more entailed this proceeding had to do with. So No, that was my whole outline for this, you know, and I wrote something out here and I have something to reason.
So it looks like the magistrate, you know, she didn't award the full amount. She awarded $4,875. That was her
Deduction of
judgment.
about $1,218, correct, Your Honor? And like I said, and given that Michigan court rule digit number there, and to what reference that is for not hearing that case out, that was the only reason why I appealed, was because I wanted a fair and balanced decision to be met upon damages that occurred. I didn't feel that it was necessary to pay for a duration of time of labor from damages being incurred, and I wanted compensation back of credit for what had actually happened. That was all my conversation was about. Hey, when I brought it up, they wanted to argue with me, didn't want to spend the money coming out to look at everything. Could have been simple.
So how much do you claim that, I mean, to be clear, you haven't paid any of the $6,000,
No,
$6,093.
not on this bill.
Okay.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right.
I refuse.
And so have you incurred, so the way it should go is he sues you, you've got claims against him, you file a counterclaim. And I don't see a counterclaim here.
No, Your Honor.
So to enter an order to order him to pay you money,
I'm not asking for a payment. I'm asking for an offset, which is different. Like I said, Michigan Court Rule 2.
no, I understand that, but I'm playing this through, so follow with
Yes,
me.
Your Honor.
So in order to have him pay you money, you would have to file a counterclaim. However, if you could substantiate that you aren't owed, that you're not required to pay this because of work that you had to go back through and have done as a result of his work, then that is a potential offset.
That's what I'm trying to do.
So I guess that's my question then to you, is what damages have you sustained, provable damages that you've sustained as a result of his work that would offset this $6,093?
Yes, and that's what I had prepared and I showed in that court, and I have here today as well. Visual photographs taken of the holes drilled, of where the wiring was going through conduit, going through trim, big holes left in the walls, all the tack marks from the wire tacks, the screw holes left in the walls, and all of that. I had beam drill holes from wiring beams set between beams. That's what I was compensated. I wanted to be compensated for all these holes and beams. So I have all these photos. I have an estimate based upon contractor quotes that would be to repair and fix these. And I merely was just trying to offset those damages. That's exactly what I
So
was attempting to do.
let's see what you have.
That's,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Packer, sorry. Mr. Packer, have you seen these photographs before?
He was showing a few of them in a previous court hearing.
Okay. You may bring it up and show me.
All right, so as we begin here, so this is in question here. I'll turn this brightness up for you a bit. So this is how the conduit's running through some trim, and I have some more. This is the wiring that was left that has been removed. They would drill these holes, as he likes to claim, to say that Amish did all these, these holes that had started being drilled through to put wire, and this wiring has thus been now removed. And
Why was that removed?
it was put in a hidden location to ran through underneath these panels. So I had rewired it, so it wasn't looking like that. And I can show those photos here. So all these holes were drilled in locations like this, double holes, another one here. And then you can see pretty messy as well with that. Couple that were drilled. This is where the wire's been removed. So as I would go through all of these, this is one that was in the door trim of where that conduit was previously, leaving those there in a trim. That's just the other side of the door.
Who installed the conduit?
They did. Yes, sir. See, and this is how things are looking there as well. And again, this was intended to just come up through the floor and it could be moved over just aside of this heater that's there. This is how they were supposed to look. That one was done correctly. Why that one was like that and then the others weren't. Trying to give examples here of what that was accepted. Like that, I didn't want that. I wanted these straight up runs, more resembling this. Holes again where wires were through the trim that was coming into the bedroom. This is again where that wasn't that hole, that conduit line. Again, long runs going along the wall where I'd have preferred that not to have happened. That's going through that hole then too. This could have easily, if he, I get that it's a log cabin or solid walls. There's other means to have done this, and we had discussed all that. So these are some of the issues that I had here. It's just the same photo again. This is just trying to do due diligence and showing through. This is how the wiring is now. It's coming through, not up along these beams. This is that same room I've shown before. This is the side walls where those beams were, and that's how the wire's hidden before it was running up holes. So downstairs, again, another example of what I was wanted to be done. And then it's just, as in leaving these holes up to the wires, just scrape throughs, push through, scraping the paint off the wall. This is a finished wall. That's supposed to be something that you would see. These are all those beams. Those are trusses. More so the same thing. It's that right there. So they have some more.
You have a quote.
Oh, yes, sir. Right here as well. So, regional beam replacement shoring estimate. Okay. So generated based upon the zip code and contractor ranges to do the description of the work, which would, obviously too, there's an alternative to this of plugging them, sanding them out, filling them with a plug. This would require, this is a bit more extensive of just replacing them and putting in a new beam. So this scope of work would break down into this range. I could send this to you.
Where did this come from?
I created this on Tachy TTP using guidelines of variable ranges within the area, utilizing the zip code and what the scope of work would have been.
So you didn't have anybody come out
No, Your
and
Honor.
do this?
No, sir.
And so who moved the wires? The wire?
I did.
You did that on your own?
Yes, sir. I already had the permit pulled, might as well. So I did all that rewiring, running the wire and then behind the panels, finishing the receptacle, putting it on my breakers.
Okay.
So, and again, not looking for full compensation of all that, but just merely just showing that the display of what was there and what led me to not paying a bill. I have a good credit score. I pay all my bills. I don't have any loans.
Okay.
This wasn't a matter of not having funding as much as it was a matter of principle. When I brought this conversation up to Dave on the phone, but I want to have a conversation about it.
Is there anything else you'd like me to know?
There's one other item that I would just like to mention that I think is pertinent to understanding this. The plaintiff stated during the district court proceeding that he had already filed a lien against my property. He admitted to that once again just recently. Respectively, I just wanted to make you aware of that and the significance of that issue. I was never notified of any lien of any kind. Under Michigan law, including MCL 570-1109, subsection 6, and MCL 570.1111, a claimant must provide proper statutory notice to the homeowner for construction lien to be valid. No notice was ever served to me. Furthermore, Michigan law under MCL 570-1121 prohibits filing a lien containing overstatement amounts, false claims, or defective work. The district court already found the plaintiff overbilled me by $1,218, and the work performed caused damage to my home. Lien filed under these circumstances would be invalid and may be considered fraudulent. Any assertion that a lien existed at the time prior to the hearing created a misleading impression that the plaintiff held enforceable rights against my property. I was never notified. This deprived me of due process and properly influenced the fairness of the original proceeding.
So I just respectfully ask that the court recognize this issue as part of the overall pattern of procedural irregularities and misrepresentations affecting this case.
All right, well, construction liens are not within my jurisdiction. That's another court, so I can't take that all into account. So, Mr. Packer, I want to turn back to you now, because that, like I said, that probably raised some questions, and it did. Do you recall, did you ever have any discussions with him about, for example, running the wiring up through the flooring or along the roof line?
Employee that was there, the master electrician, he's basically, gonna take over my business, when I retire. He did have conversation with him. As you can tell, he says one thing and then gets very sidetracked on what we're talking about. Every electrician would have done it probably a little bit different. We try to listen to what he's telling us. Just sitting there listening to his conversation, how he's telling us what circuits, where to run them, how many circuits he wants. Well, he's not the electrician, we're the electricians, he's the homeowner. And once in a while, we should be able to speak up and tell him what we think, since we are the professional, instead of him telling us exactly what he wants. I tried to give him credit. He didn't like the way we did it. I seen pictures of it. It's a log cabin. Your choices on your wiring techniques are pretty limited. He wanted that conduit out of there. We took it out, we redid it. I told him I'd give him credit for that, just to make things right. And there wasn't nothing wrong with it. He just didn't like it. So, it's my word against his word, basically. I'm an electrician, sometimes that's all you can do is run conduit.
So the invoice amount that's in question, does that take into did you in fact credit?
No, I tried to work it out with him, so it didn't come to this point. And, I told him, well, I'll give you credit for what we did. I asked the master electrician how much time he had into what he did. He told me 4 hours. I offered to give him 4 hours credit on that. He didn't accept it. That's when he verbally started, his rampage. And, that was pretty much the last time I talked to him.
And so the 4 hours, that would have credited back the labor costs, but not necessarily the material costs, correct?
We had conduit I threw in the dumpster because, after you tear it all out, then you throw it away.
Did that conduit get placed before or after he had the conversation with your employee about how he wanted the conduit run?
It was after.
It was after. Do you recall you having any conversations about how he wanted that run?
None.
Was there any conversation at all about how the wiring should be done with you when you went in,
No.
when you said you would do the work?
Generally, if a homeowner is very anal on what they want, they're there to explain, to be there. Okay, I don't want this, I want that. He was gone half the time. So, we have to make a decision on what we're doing. There was nothing wrong with what we did. He just didn't like it. So, code wise, it was fine.
Did your employees ever have any conversation with you about, Tom came in today and tomorrow he wants us to run 3
They
floors?
told me that they ran this conduit and he came in with his wife and kids like about 4 or 5 o'clock and just come unglued on them because it wasn't how he wanted it.
But before that happened, did you have any conversation with them about him saying, I want it done this way?
Myself,
Did your employees ever tell you about conversations that they had with him about him wanting the wiring and conduit run a certain way?
no.
If that had happened, would they, do you have such a relationship with them that they would bring that to your attention?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right. Now, I saw photos where it looked like some of the beams had double holes in them.
I know, I talked to Austin, he was the master electrician out there, and there was a couple holes that had to be drilled when we ran the conduit, and them are the pictures that he's showing, but he had the Amish out there and they hacked the place up anyways. I mean, it's just, he's making something out of,
I just showed
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the wires through them, Dave.
Did you visibly inspect the
No.
the premises before your crew started working on it?
no, I leave it up to my employees.
And so the wiring that you said had to be pulled out because of the work the Amish had done on it. Do you know where that wiring was at in the house?
It was throughout, like he said, some of it was buried. Austin sent me a few pictures on what wiring techniques they were doing. I have.
Your guys or the Amish wiring techniques? Well, you said that Austin is his name?
Austin's the one.
That Austin, okay, Austin had sent you photographs about their wiring techniques. Are you talking about his techniques or the Amish's techniques?
That's Amish,
Okay.
why we had to pull it out, which I have a few pictures of it.
Do you have those with you?
Yeah, show you.
Have you seen these photos?
No, sir.
Mr. Packer, if you,
Once again, it's to recalculate.
hold on.
There was an electrician.
hold on. Why don't you show him those photographs? You want to point out a lot, but there's a process we have to go through here. Okay, so what you got?
Basically the wiring, that wire should end up in the junction box,
Mhm.
and they just bring everything out and wire nut it. See how that one is?
Fine.
The wire didn't.
We talking about this back here?
Yeah, the white insulation should be in that box.
Yep.
And that was a good majority of it. And there's nothing you can do with that but tear it out and redo it. That box there, they got 20 amp circuits mixed up with 15 amp circuits, which that's a violation. So we had to fix that. The same there, the white wire's a 15 amp. The yellow wire's a 20 amp circuit. You can't intertie them two together. You tear it out, redo it. You know, that's a big majority of the stuff was like that. See that can light? See how it's hacked all the way around there? That tells you, open that up a little bit. Looks like they took a chisel to it to get that can light in there. That's the type of quality of work they did there. And he's worried about two holes that we drilled.
So in this cam light photo, this is, I'm assuming this is like the power box of the light,
Yeah,
right?
that's where the junction would be, is in there.
Okay.
See, that white wire should have had a connector on there.
Yeah.
And dumped right into that, and that's where the wire nuts and stuff go. Here, they did it, they wire nutted in there, but they didn't put no connector. They didn't, you know, that white wire should end up in there, not individual wires like that.
Right. The insulation is off the wire.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Which is very basic. But did you see that part there where they chisel that hull out?
Yeah.
Well, they make a hole saw that you just cut it open and you're done. So, okay.
No argument there with the quality of craftsmanship that we had heard from the Amish, but I do have a whole breakdown of those lists, and those things were overlapping with what.
So when he testified earlier that he had to take out the electrical because it didn't meet code, Do you agree with that?
I saw no evidence of them removing wires other than seeing those photos for the first time. And I had no knowledge whatsoever that any wire that was already laid was removed. And again, the wiring that was done by Electrician down in Lago was done in conjunction with what they were building just to have runs in places of inadequate accessibility. So it was never intended to be a finished job, and it was always my intent to have an electrician come into the home and finish it on site. So I was not aware that anything was ever removed, replaced. That discussion was never had. Nor was it on any of the bills or invoices of that work being compensated for labor being done.
It doesn't look like any of the bills specifically state what
No, they're very
work
generic.
is done.
Whereas in the beginning, they did show a bit more than just numbers for hours. First few of them have been a little bit more itemized, getting a better scope of the work, and I appreciated that. And I you know, again, learning lessons in life, to slow down and get everything right. Intense scope of work prior to moving on.
Mr. Packer, was there ever any discussion as to how long this last phase of the work would take?
We got done. That's basically, we don't want to move into the house, so we're trying to get it done. And after, this last day, I wanted to bill it out because he told Austin, master electrician, that he's run out of money. And that's why I wanted to get the bill out to him before we went back again and spent another $1,000, which I wouldn't have been paid for. That's why I pretty much billed it out and waited until I got paid for that part of it, then we'd go back again. And that's pretty typical doing business. You don't work for free.
And so how much did you bill out the journeyman at? I know you told me, but
$96 an hour,
96?
which is pretty reasonable nowadays.
Is there anything else either side wants to bring to my attention we haven't covered?
Sir, Your Honor.
Have him listed as a journeyman electrician, Dave, is that correct? Not a master electrician?
Master electrician is far above a German electrician.
You have him listed on here as a journeyman electrician, so I was just clarifying. So it's on the invoice.
Yeah, the invoice shows him journeyman.
Yeah, just wanted to catch that discrepancy. Just make sure I'm seeing
Well,
it.
in reality, he has a German's license and a master's license, so.
Going once, twice?
I think at this point, Your Honor, my apologies. I was just trying to do, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I think I addressed my concern with allowing an offset of billing. I think we landed on understanding of where that was. It seems like that was my main intent of appealing today, was just to be able to be heard on that. So I appreciate that opportunity. As far as anything else goes, I think this whole situation would have been a lot easier had he just presented and stuck with the original game plan of laying out the intent of work, scope of work, what would be done prior to going and doing the work. I paid these bills quickly and responsibly. I had never had an issue and never once stated anything about running out of money. I did not pay this gentleman for the fact of not having the funds to do so. It was merely principle. I brought this up to have this conversation that he did not want to have. And it upset me. I wasn't being heard. So yeah, I got a little upset from on the phone. And, then that's why I made this decision to do this. Like I said, I pay all my debts. I'm not the person to flake off on a bill. I'm a good credit score. Paid up my house, paid up my mortgage, I work hard. I wasn't always there on site, yes, but as he said, he's a professional, so I'm either concerned, either needing me there to dictate, micromanage everything that he was doing, or he has the sense to do it himself. I'm not really sure. I got the whole story, so just, you know, I had issues with some things that I did bring up with him a few times about the gentleman's work ethics and not getting a lot done in the days. I had some problems, and it's my own fault for continuing work with them. So I'm just looking again, just to have a fair, just understanding that there was damages caused at home. There is issues there that were being done. There was some overcharging that was found in the lower court. With the manner to which that helper was doing, he wasn't working on his own accord. He was working as a helper to the other one. And a lot of this is just unfortunately hearsay, and it's my own fault for not getting it all in writing ahead of time. I really just hope that there's a just understanding with that, and that we're going to have the ability to have an offset of charges, damages in this case, as reference to, you know, I prepared something to read for that, but I think that we're all on the same page at that point. So.
Well, Mr. Packer, any argument? Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
He referred to the helper, and in the first court hearing, I didn't really hear what she was saying until the court hearing was over. And the helper's a 4th year apprentice helper, which he's just about ready to get his German's license. I mean, I'm paying him $25 an hour. He has health insurance. I pay workman's comp. I pay liability insurance. I base a helper's scale from $56 to $72 on wages. And she called it $20 an hour, which was kind of I didn't realize it until after I left court how despicable that was. I couldn't believe it. And I think she Googled it, what a helper should get in wages, and nothing against her, but she wasn't even close. So I just wanted to bring that up. The price that I charge him is typical on, you know, other electricians, what they charge for apprentices, and I send him to school. He goes to TBA up in Traverse. He's on his 4th year of apprenticeship. There's a lot of hidden costs besides what you just pay somebody off the street. And I don't think she realized that.
Okay.
If I may, I was never under any understanding that there was going to be 2 people working on the home. An agreement to having 2 electricians working there simultaneously, whether helper or otherwise. And I believe it was $25 an hour if you would look at reference to the transcript in that case. And this argument that Dave made was in court. He didn't wait till after. It wasn't something he realized after the fact. If there was a transcript of that, he'd note that there was a conversation actually had in that court. Okay. But again, I had no understanding. I did not like the concept of that I needed to have a second person around. He was just really there, grading things from the truck. The days and times I would be there a few times working. Sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't. I thought he was just a helper that was just grabbing things from the truck for the guy. He was always just on his shoulder. He wasn't doing his own work. So I saw it as such.
All right. Well, the court hears appeals from the magistrate from the small claims, essentially anew. There is no record kept in the small claims action with the magistrate.
Okay.
So as I warned everybody in the beginning, this case starts fresh today. And so anything that was said prior in the probate, in the small claims case before the magistrate, I don't get to consider that today. So what I'm left with today are the proofs that were presented by the plaintiffs and the proof that's presented by the defendant. And then I have to decide who's right, who's wrong, or if nobody's right or wrong. These cases are always tough when there is an ongoing working relationship and everything goes bad, but it just takes one time for it to go sour and then the world comes to an end. And that's kind of what we're here at. What's difficult for the court is there's nothing in writing as to what this work was entailed. There was nothing, no prints presented. There may or may not have been some instructions given timely as to how work should be done. But I'm left with a he said, she said situation there. And that makes it tough. The magistrate in the prior case issued her judgment, and somehow she came up with a lesser figure in her. She came up with $4,875, and I don't know how she came up with that decision. And like I said, that has no bearing on what I do today. But what I am left with is an invoice for $6,093. It sounds like through conversations between the parties, the plaintiff had agreed to give a discount of 4 hours at $96 an hour, which by my calculation is about $384 for some work that may not have been done the way it might have been requested to be done. Then we heard testimony today that a lot of the work that was, or I shouldn't say a lot, that some of the work that was done was to make the electric up to code for prior work that had been done. So there was more than just picking up where one left off and move forward. But again, we have no scope of work. The scope of work is that the wiring has to get done. That's essentially it. And then, I've also left with testimony from the defense that I only expected one electrician or one person working there, but yet he knew there was more people in there because he had conversations with them. And there wasn't just the one billing, although I don't have that prior billing of 093.
I can send it to you.
No, it's too late for that. Of 093 that gives labor, but I can assume, given invoice 136, that it would have listed out the two persons working. In any event, what I have is invoice 22136 in the amount of $6,093 that we seem to have the dispute with. I understand, where the defendant might be upset that things weren't done aesthetically to his request. But again, nothing is in writing in this case. And for that, I do find for the plaintiff. However, I will reduce that by the $384 for the 4 hours that you had originally said that you would set withdraw. So my judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,709. I will state that I did see the estimate that was presented by the defendant, but that was a ChatGPT. There was nobody actually came in and said, this is what has to be done. The work was done badly. This is what it's going to take to fix it. I didn't have any of that. So any offset that might happen is by pure guess and by gosh. So my judgment is for the for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,709.
So Ms. Turbeville, were you able to get service on Mr. Franzak based on the calendar? What I was looking at these over the weekend. I didn't see that any service had been had on him.
So there has been a lot. There has been the restraining order, of course, that just got approved. And then the day it got approved, he pulled a gun out on me and my current boyfriend. So I have a case on him with that one. He just got arrested for it. And then he was sending photos and stuff. So I have another case on him. And then he broke my restraining order. So I have another case.
On this case, ma'am, in order for me to proceed on this case, I need to show that he's been served with this.
Yes.
And I see that he's charged with some, and I don't see that. Do you?
Oh, it said that he got, they said that he got served it in court. I mean, when he went to jail.
Well, there's another no contact order is that the case that's in Superior Court here?
Yeah.
Looks like there's a no contact order in that case.
Yep.
This is separate from that. And so
Yes.
I don't, you have any service on this? No, we haven't seen any service on this. So
Okay.
what is, give me just a moment. We can reissue the temporary order and reset it for 2 weeks to give you an opportunity to serve him, but I can't proceed on this, although you already have a no contact order. It looks like is he in custody now?
No, I don't know. I don't know 100%, but we are going to be going through like the court thing for when he
Okay.
pulled the gun out on me.
Right, and I see he's been charged with that. My question to you is, do you want me to renew the temporary order, reset this for 2 weeks to give you an opportunity to get him served?
Yes.
All right, give me just a minute. Okay, so your next court date will be December 8th at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Okay, hang on just a second. And again, the copy of this will get sent to you for service, all right?
Okay.
You can
Thank you.
contact law enforcement, hire a process server. Sounds like things are rough, for lack of a better term. So law enforcement might not be a bad idea for you to talk to whatever jurisdiction he lives and get him served that way.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's it for today, ma'am. You're free to leave the Zoom call.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we start this hearing, I want to address everybody in the courtroom and on Zoom. These are anti-harassment petitions. These are generally fairly, sometimes really emotional. We're here because there's been a lot of interaction, most of it not positive, between the parties. And the way these things go is I'll swear in the petitioner, I'll hear from the petitioner. Following that, I'll swear in the respondent and any witnesses the respondent or either party wishes to present. After that, I'll make a determination whether or not an order will be entered. In some of these cases, temporaries have been ordered. Sometimes they haven't. But just a few ground rules that were here, that are here is I want all comments directed to me. Don't interrupt the other party. Don't interrupt me. If you have something to say, I'll give you a chance to respond when the time comes to do that. You're going to hear things you don't like. You're going to hear things that you disagree with. But again, I want all comments directed towards me and not to the other party. And so with that, Mr. Stockwell, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down. Tell me how it is you need an order against Mr. Colvin.
The first time I actually met the individual, didn't really meet him. He just kind of brandished a gun at everybody, yelling at us.
Okay, so to tell me, what did he do? Oh, and actually, before we get started here, hang on just a minute. I should have done this first. I'll do this at every hearing also. Unlawful harassment is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harassment, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Course of conduct must be such as that would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress. A course of conduct is described and defined, I should say, is a pattern of conduct composed of a series of acts over a period of time, however short, evidencing continuity of purpose. Course of conduct includes any form of communication, contact, or conduct. So again, what I'm looking for is a pattern of conduct that you're alleging with Mr. Colvin. I'll give him a chance to respond that you feel that it's important for you to have an order. Just tell me what happened.
Well, we were just, I was getting coffee. He came running down with his gun and was yelling at us about something stolen, and that's all we can make out. Wanted to talk to somebody else. I mean, we moved to the trailer, which was 30 feet from where this started. Somebody else came and talked to him, got a video of him. I didn't even talk to him, just backed off. We were over close to his fence when this all started. After that, he would come up and like every morning, he'd put his camera out there. so he could watch me, or people were telling him when I was getting up out of bed or something. I'll get up, let the dogs out, and in 5 to 10 minutes he'd be there. He would go check his camera. He'd go up. It's like a 300-foot driveway, 200-foot driveway. He'd drive up there, sit up there, wait. And the second I went to go leave, he would drive around. I would drive around the driveway, and he would drive down, waiting. And so why am I going to leave? So he can follow me? That was, I had stuff to go do, and I didn't want him following me or his family, because I kind of had a feeling they were. He has a lot of friends everywhere. And yeah, I couldn't even put in the thing for 2 weeks. I didn't even want to take it to Tenino cops. He said he was really good friends with the sheriff, and he was going to have a sheriff after us. He was going to get us evicted, this, that. I mean, he just kept yelling at us. Every time I would go outside, he would be there.
So,
A couple times he went out in front. I thought he was leaving, so I went to go leave. This is when I was at the driveway, and he backed up and was filming me when he's backing up and basically stopping me from leaving. So he's blocking me in the driveway, filming me. I'm not sure what he was doing. That's a lot of harassment, and it was towards me. It wasn't towards anybody else. I had a sister-in-law that witnessed it. I have many nieces.
hang on just a second. So are your neighbors then?
Yes, right next door.
How long have you lived there?
A year.
And then has he been there this whole time?
I don't think so. I think he has another residency.
Okay, but I mean, does he live there too?
No. Not as far as I know.
I mean, does he own the place, or do you know?
I think he owns it.
So let me hear from Mr. Colvin. Mr. Colvin, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down. What's your response to what we just heard from Mr. Stuckel?
Okay, so on the 20th of September, there was an incident where their dog was in my driveway. I am up in my shed working. I have a big barn shed and different stuff there going on. I was up there working and cleaning. Turn around, their pit bull was at my door, and I always have my handgun. I walked out scaring the dog down the driveway, yelling for them to get their dog. All of a sudden, 3 people come running out to the fence line, and I didn't even see this gentleman here at all. He was never there that day. And then so I have an ongoing court case with that. And then 2 or 3 days later, every time that I would show up to my property, this gentleman would say, "Oh, you're harassing me. You're harassing me." And I'm like, "No, I'm not harassing nobody. I'm just driving up on my property. My son lives there. I own that place. I go there consistently cleaning up. Donating items from my big shed, cleaning up. And right now I can't even go there. I got a big dumpster full of garbage that I need to get rid of." I think the gentleman is like paranoid, but I'm not going there to watch him, surveillance him. The cops actually told me to put up a trail camera to set it up to see what was going on. They've been harassing me. I showed proof. I sent it in. I don't know if it's in my response, where I called on a Sunday for harassment. Different cars would pull up. They would pull up next to my fence, and not like I'd be pulling down my driveway. It's a long driveway. They pull up and start videoing me every time that I would leave, come and go. The dog actually bit my wife, is why I protect myself with my gun. I didn't point it at nobody. In his petition, it said that I was met by gunpoint. I never pointed my gun or threatened anybody. I wasn't arrested for that or anything.
Okay.
For that part. They arrested me for displaying a weapon, and that was it. And I got an ongoing court case, but I never threatened nobody. I'm not harassing nobody. Matter of fact, they are harassing me. Every time my son, they harass my son, my wife. My wife drives the car. They videotape her car going in and out. And I own that place, so I go there for business purposes and for reasoning for my son, and take care of the place and clean it up, and then not even 4 weeks later, I'm out there and 9 sheriffs show up. with ARs. They got out. They got out with K9. They asked me if they can use my driveway to contain the property. There's 15 or 20 people living there. It's total mess. I think, I don't know if my wife sent that in, where there was 9 sheriffs showed up there. They told me they got 1 out of 3 from that house, but I'm not harassing
They got
nobody.
what now?
They got one suspect out of 3 on
From,
the sheriff. They had 9 sheriffs there like a month later, right after this incident. 9 sheriffs with K9. They even asked
what? And then from what house?
right next door where that gentleman's at.
Okay. Does he pay you rent?
No, who? This fella?
Yeah.
No.
I thought I heard you say you own the place.
No, I own the place, but I own my place, but he rents. So next door to me, that's like 5 acres, is Steve MP's house. And the county's getting ready to take that and foreclose on that place and clean it up. But the sheriff's have been out there numerous times because of all the activity and the crime that goes on there.
And so, okay. So you don't own the place you want to clean up. What's that?
That's my property right next to this property where this gentleman's staying. There's a camper right next to the road down my driveway on that other property where the sheriffs were at.
I see. So does stuff get dumped on your property?
No. I sold the house and I had a big barn shed. Instead of paying storage, I bought 2 big sheds and put all my belongings in those sheds. And then slowly been cleaning it out and taking stuff to the dump, donating items and things like that.
Well, there's nothing in the order, or that doesn't. Let me look at the temporary. I looked at it just a second ago. There's no distance restriction.
It said 1,000 feet on there.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, it does say 1,000 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, I even contacted the sheriff, called him, talked to the Tenino cops too, and we discussed it. And he said, "Donnie, do not." And I was actually called 2 weeks prior before this guy was served, and asked for names so I can get them served because they harassing me. And he said, "Donnie, I can't give you no names. I can't help you. I can't go over there and demand names from those folks. So you can go down and get a protect." I even had proof where I called the sheriff on a Sunday.
All right. When's your next court date on the weapon?
So they set a trial date, but there's a lot of evidence coming in and a lot of different things going on with my attorney.
Looks like you have trial confirmation on January 9th.
Yes.
With trial on January 21st and 22nd.
Yes.
And then my next question is, there's a picture here of someone in a white, which looks like to me, Camaro.
Yeah.
Whose car is that?
Oh, that's my car.
Okay. So it looks like you are holding the picture that was submitted. You're holding a camera up to, tell me what's that all about?
Okay. So every time I would go there, they're videotaping me. So I'd video them going out. Every time, and I got tons and tons of pictures and videos. I would come in, I would leave. He would come out and sit there and go, "Oh yeah, this is harassment. I'm gonna turn this in. I'm gonna turn this in." And this fella wasn't even out there that day. I never even met him.
And give me just a minute here. There's one other question I have. There's another order that's in place that was from last February. What's that about?
Oh, with Cario?
Yeah.
And Nicole, I used to work with him, and I didn't show up to the first one because I was working. I haul logs for Weyerhaeuser, and I couldn't make it.
And then Ms. Valerie Colvin, did you want to have her testify or
yes,
or no?
Yes.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And so, and again, what do you know about this? And what I'm asking, not what Mr. Colvin has told you, what your firsthand experience of what you've seen or what have you. But I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Is she connected to audio? Try it again there, ma'am. And there's an Isabel Colvin too. Is that that must be related to you folks also?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Mr. Okay, Ms. Valerie Colvin, I'm not going to be able, I can't hear you. How about Isabel Colvin? Could you come on the Zoom call and activate your camera?
Yes.
How old are you, ma'am?
I'm 22, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you wish to have her testify, Mr. Colvin?
Yeah.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down. Go ahead.
I believe after hearing the other party's side of the story, when he spoke to you, he said he has never even talked to my father, Donnie, and doesn't know him. And from my point of view, my dad's income depends on access to his property. Since the incident, he also has not instigated or had any further contact with this dude. I don't even think they know each other. So I just don't see that this is necessary.
Okay. Oh, we might be connecting to audio. We may be able to hear from your mother. But now she's gone off camera.
Your Honor, I don't know if I can still be heard, but my son lives there in my camper trailer on my property, and he was supposed to testify too because they're harassing my son as well as me. They're accusing my son of sending his dog after him, and all this other things. It's not only Mr. Stuckel; it's all the other tenant or the people that live on that property.
Okay. So here's, and again, there, she's still connecting to audio. Ms. Colvin, Valerie Colvin, can you hear me now? Here's what I'm going to do today there, Mr. Colvin and Mr. Stuckel. So based on the evidence presented, I will find it's maybe even going both ways. So I'm going to enter an order, but I'm going to adjust it in a way that Mr. Colvin, there's no distance restriction. The only order says you're just not to contact them and don't engage in stalking behavior. I'm concerned about the show of the weapon, also the show of you filming them. They may be filming you, which there's nothing to stop you or your son from getting your own order. But the parameters of the order are going to be, don't contact them, don't engage in stalking behavior, and don't cause them any harm. So I'm removing the distance restriction. That means you can go to and from your own home and property you own out there. That's not going to be in violation of the order. You're just, don't even look at those folks. And if you or your son feel like you need an order, you're free to file one, but you need to file one, get them served, and go forward. But hopefully this will take care of it.
Yeah, so how's this going to look for my case? So I'm going to, the cops, they told me to do it. So I'm going to have to go down there and do it.
You can. Well, you don't have to. I mean, in terms of how you're doing, sometimes, we do see from time to time, it's not uncommon, people file orders against each other. Sometimes they both get granted. Sometimes they both get denied. And so, but this case, only one order is in front of me here right now. If there was an order going the other way, based on what you said, and you're free to file one, so can he. With regard to your case on the weapons charge, as far as I can tell, this won't have anything to do with that. That's, that's going to be decided by a jury. If it goes to trial, that'll be decided by a jury based on what other evidence is presented there. And they won't be able to use that. Well, there's an order here, so they won't be able to do that.
Okay, perfect. So I'm perfect. That's perfectly fine. This is what I don't want them contacting me, looking at me, videoing me, harassing me. So this is just for Stuckel. So do I have to go through and do all that?
And the person who is against it is you. So yeah, if you want orders against those other people, you have to file again against each one individually.
Okay, because they listed a bunch of names in this petition on Stuckles with a bunch of names and 14 cats or 14
So-
chickens and
On this case, it's only Mr. Stuckel.
okay, gotcha. So I need to do one for each person.
Yeah,
Gotcha. No, that's good. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. That's good information.
Your Honor, I have a question.
yes.
So, if their dog keeps coming onto my dad's property and he wants it to not hurt him and go back to its owners, how does he go about that without videotaping or harassing them?
He can videotape anything on his own property.
Okay.
I mean, if he's got a camera set up there for his own property, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. And then
For security cameras.
Yeah. The police also advised my dad.
And again, I will tell you another thing, if there's an issue with the dog, I'd report that to animal control and they can deal with it.
I have.
Okay.
Perfect. Right now there's currently trail cameras facing their property.
No, it's not. It's moved.
Okay. Okay. That's all my questions.
You can get a copy of this off the district court website. We'll give an order from Mr. Stuckel will get a copy of it too. But basically, no distance restriction. You can go to and from your place. Just don't contact any of these folks.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Could they have their camera removed from facing our truck and our camper?
I'm not going to dictate where and how he does his, again,
So can I put one up then too?
What's that?
Can I put one up too?
You know, I'm not going to give either one of you any advice.
Oh.
Other than that.
But I did want to say that that dog is not my dog. Our dogs are in a fence.
Well, I'm not making any judgment on that also. It's like what I said. It's a report to animal control. And you're free to go. We'll give you a copy of it. And then Mr. Colvin, all Colvins are free to leave the Zoom call.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then is that Ms. Tyner? Is that you, ma'am? Okay. And then are you two folks together? Okay. And then Mr. Shoemate, and you're with her. Ms. Tyner, you could come up there. Mr. Shoemate, guys can come up there. Give me just a moment. Let me recall your case here. So how do I say your last name?
Tyner.
Tyner. And who are you, sir?
Jonathan Haig.
I'm sorry?
Jonathan Haig.
Okay. So could you raise your right hand, ma'am? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
You can put your hand down.
Thank you.
How is it you need an order against Mr. Shoemate?
I'm going to start 1 year ago on Halloween when they came to my house. They tried to come into the house 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Prior to that, I had put my significant other on my deed to the home because he's been with me since 2014. Okay, when he got to my house in 2014, my daughter and her husband moved out of my house. She got married and she moved to Centralia. Okay, he met up with my daughter in Centralia at that time when she was still on Plum Street. When her husband divorced her, she moved in with Maurice.
Ma'am,
I
want to direct you. I don't, you're asking for an order against Mr. Shoemate. So I want to hear about things that he's done that leads to an order. And in terms of.
He comes on my property.
Okay. Are you neighbors?
No.
Okay. How do you know him?
Through my daughter.
Is that you?
See.
I see. So, okay. So, you folks are together.
Yes.
Okay. Um, okay, so your daughter is right there. Um, but you're not asking for an order against her,
She has one on her.
from you?
Yes, sir.
I see. Give me just a moment here. Out of this court?
The family court.
Okay, so, so hang on just a minute. Okay, so tell me what Mr. Shoemate, there's one already. You should, okay, continue on, ma'am.
So they come to my property at night when it's dark. They come into my home. They gang up on me. They're hostile. They're combative. And on Halloween, they came into my house and did just that. I didn't acknowledge them. I just sat there. I didn't get involved with what they were saying to me. They left on Sunday night.
Was this Halloween like a month ago or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then on Monday morning, I got up to leave to go somewhere in my car, and there was two big boulders thrown into my back window of my car, and I wasn't able to use my car for 2 weeks. Safe Flight couldn't get to my car to fix it for 2 weeks. And so when she was served on Tuesday night, she came to my property Tuesday evening, and I called 911 to dispatch because that's what the sheriffs had told me to do. She came before she was served, to please call
Okay, so I'm gonna
911.
stop you again for a minute. So, did you serve, this order with her, does this happen also a month ago?
That was the Tuesday after Halloween.
Okay, so hang on. So you ask orders for both of them in two different courts?
They suggested the family court with my daughter, and they suggested
Who's they?
the sheriff's department and the clerks and the clerk.
What's her name, ma'am?
Dawn Greer,
Greer? How do I spell Greer?
Greer.
That's DAWN. Has there been a hearing held on that?
The case number is 25-2.
Okay, so hang on just a minute. Just wait a minute.
966.
Okay, just please.
Dash 34.
Yeah, okay. So you are, yeah.
They actually put my
Okay.
hearing over 2 more weeks.
Yeah. When is that taking place?
When is that? On December 1st.
December 1st?
Yeah.
Okay. And so is there kids involved, or why is this in family court or in Superior Court? Why did they suggest going from one? It makes sense. I'll be blunt with all of you. It makes sense to me that all this should be heard at once by one judge. Because if you have two people, you have an order, if I do one thing against Mr. Shoemate, they do something different against Ms. Greer, then that just creates a huge mess. And so, December 1st, that's coming up here. That's next week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's next.
On a special calendar.
I'm sorry?
On a special calendar.
Is that on December 1st? Which would be a Tuesday,
Monday.
a week. No, I look at the wrong calendar again. We have the 26th up here because we're coming into 26. You're right. It's a week from today.
Yes.
What time?
9 a.m.
And then are there children
Wednesday,
involved here? Is there some sort of parenting plan or?
No, there's no
No.
children under 18.
Okay. So what I'm going to do with,
I'm a resident there.
I'm sorry,
I'm a resident there.
where?
On 11442 on Trigby Drive.
Oh, I see. Was that her address? Okay, so everybody okay, remember what I said about not interrupting? Okay, so, so there's dispute as to that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Is that when you were talking about in the title and all that sort of stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I see. So it's domestic violence in the sense that you're the daughter and she's the mother. That's why it goes there. All right, give me a minute here. I haven't sworn you in. But if I'm guessing correctly, it's your permission that if you went on that house, you have a right to do so because it's your house. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. Okay, so hang on just a minute. So tell me why you think you own this house, and then I'm gonna ask her the same question. And then what I might do is either combine with the other court, or I'm gonna wait and see what that other court does. We'll reset this for a couple weeks to see what they do before I make a decision here. So I don't want to do anything that messes up. That's where the real rubber meets the road, so to speak. So why is it that you think that you own this property?
It's in my name.
So hang on just a minute. Could you raise your right hand? Swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor,
Why is it that you think you own this property?
because I've been on the lease for 12 years and plus I paid it off in 2023.
Hey, so the lease, I mean,
There was a lease in it with the option to buy
I see.
in 2012. Me and Bonnie, Miss Tyner, we signed a lease with the landlord, rent to own.
I see.
I've been on the lease the whole time and paid it off in actually a year early. So
And then who executed, but then how did it end up in her name?
she took the deed and went and registered it without my name on it. I don't know how she got my name off of it, but it was something to do with her and I don't know. But there's gonna be another civil litigation.
And then
over that one.
so there you have the anti-harassment order set for a week from today. But then there needs to be some sort of quiet title action going to
Yes.
figure out who owns the property.
Exactly, I'm on it. That's what I'm doing today. I'd like to have her served.
Mr. Schumate?
I mean, I want this order gone because there's
I
no
know,
reason
right.
for me to even have this order because I've never done any harm or threatened her. I have statements showing she
All right.
lies about this
Okay,
and that.
Hang on just a second. And what was your name again, sir?
Jonathan Haig.
Okay. And then again, you're not, again, I'm gonna tell you all, I'm not gonna make a decision on this order here right now. There's other stuff going on. It's just a decision of whether I move it to Superior Court or set it beyond that to see what they do.
I just have one thing. The only reason why I'm here is because Marcus showed up a day after.
I don't know who Marcus is.
I don't know his last
Maurice.
name. Or Maurice. Sorry about that.
I don't know who Maurice
showed up.
is.
His name's
Jeffrey.
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 Oh, you mean him?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's helpful to get names correctly.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Jeffrey.
That tells me a lot when
Yeah.
people don't know who they're talking about, if you want my
Well,
honest opinion.
I don't know which one to go by, but anyways, Jeffrey showed up a day after Miss Greer was served with the no contact order. Showed up on the property at an inappropriate time, well after 12 a.m.
Okay.
And I said that, hey, look, you shouldn't be here. This is a third party contact. It could be a violation.
We're just gonna reset this then for 2 weeks and then we'll see what Superior Court does on that. And then the temporary will exist for, again, you're gonna have to live with it for another 2 weeks. But I mean, this isn't the real battle here. It's
No,
not. And it's not even the real battle in terms of harassment. It's the real battle is to who owns the property. And,
Thank you.
Kind of my name too.
okay, what's that?
It's kind of my name.
Yeah, maybe that's one thing we can resolve today. As far as I know, your name's Jeffrey Schumate. That's it. Okay, make 2 copies. We'll see you here in 2 weeks.
Your Honor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I
December 8th.
have belongings that's at that address. I have my bed and my bed and my refrigerator that's in the trailer that's at the residence. Can I get a standby to be able to access those things? Because I went there and I asked them for it and they denied it those.
Does he have stuff there?
I do. That trailer belongs to me. I have the title to that
Stop
trailer.
it. Stop. Just stop. I can't do that here. I can't decide who owns what. And if there's a dispute, I can't make that decision. This is only for an anti-harassment order. And so if you say you own it, she owns it, that's gonna need to be decided somewhere
Not the
else.
trailer, I'm talking about my bed is in the trailer. I
Yeah.
just want my bed and my bed frame and my refrigerator.
We can,
That's it.
we'll take that up in 2 weeks. We'll take that up in 2 weeks. Well, I'm not sure why you're thanking me, ma'am, because I really didn't do anything here, but because, and I don't know that I can do anything that's gonna get to the underlying problem. And so, it's gonna be pretty expensive, and it's gonna be pretty long and drawn out to figure out who owns the property. And we don't do that here. That's gonna have to be in Superior Court. You'll get a copy of this, and then you're free to go for today. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
You can ask.
If I have proof of.
So now you're asking, that's not a question. You're giving me a hypothetical and then gonna ask and do, and that I can't answer. I mean, you're, kind of sounds like you're gonna ask me for an opinion on something, and I can't give that.
Do I have the copy? I have the a registration to the trailer he's
Okay, so again,
referring to.
that's not something I can decide here. That's not in front of me. The only thing that's in front of me is whether or not an order should be entered or not. Who owns what, I can't decide. And who owns the property, that's, I don't even have, the court doesn't even do that. So these hearings are not for that, and so I'm not gonna give you an answer to that question. All right? Why don't you come on up, sir, since you're on your way out of here already? I'm gonna give you a copy of that. You and Ms. Tyner can leave, then you guys get in a copy, and then you guys can leave.